Oh my gosh.
Fresh off the truck.
This is so awesome. Where can I get one? I'm going to read from this. And this is an excerpt of a little book I self-published earlier this year. The directions Dan gave me were simple. Get off the freeway at Trona. There's only one exit. Make a right at the gas station. Hang a left at the next street, and his house would be down at the end of the block. I expected to find him living in a modest English tutor. Instead, I was greeted with the reason for some real estate developer's bankruptcy, an entire small community of near-deserted tract homes. Dan's house was an emotionless rectangle among them. I could only pick out 2 or 3 other houses on the block that were occupied. The rest were boarded up or had signs staked in the lawn, pleading with no one to call and make an offer. There was one yucca plant in the center of Dan's dirt lawn, growing at a sharp right angle, as if it too had given up and was trying to get out of here. I put my clothes back on in the empty street, collected a few personal belongings, and stretched before heading up to the house. Dan opened the door as I approached. The first thing I noticed was his new handlebar mustache. Ah, how now, Michael? He was wearing a dirty white thrift shop t-shirt. It was sweat-stained from too many rotations under the harsh desert sun. It said something on the breast, but various letters were worn out and gone, now wandering somewhere in the Mojave. I'm good, I told Dan, smiling. I am most glad to see you. He seemed almost overly relaxed, the way he moved and the slow delivery of his words. Even his sandy blonde hair seemed to fall to his shoulders in a sort of collective sigh. We went inside the sparse house and he sat down. I watched his body as it conformed perfectly to an old, tired recliner. It looks like you have a nice place here. My eyes went first to the bookshelf in the corner of the room, where I noticed the lonely, complete works of William Shakespeare sitting on its side, tattered and well-thumbed. There was not much else. A wooden desk, doubling as a dining table, was off in the shadows of another room. I was sitting on Dan's mattress, where an architect had intended a couch. I tell you, he said, glancing around, 'tis a fair and good house. 'Twas a matter of convenience that I came to possess such a handsome home. Then you like it out here? Aye, he affirmed after a second, thinking. I find it a most natural setting, one that lofts the mind and soul higher than possible in other places where they're hindered by the folly of incalculable distractions. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. I remembered how Dan and I used to drive to San Francisco for the weekend whenever we could get the chance. We would go to parties or clubs and try to dance with pretty girls, and he would always do most of the talking for us. He was very charismatic then. So why the decision to start talking like Bill Shakespeare? Not that I don't like it, I just sort of thought you've been fucking with me in all those letters. My voice, like so many things under the heavens, hath simply exhausted its own well. I grew tired of the ceremony and fashion of exercising it. He managed to say this with a completely straight face. Yeah, I gulped. So I, being much prepared to forfeit my audience, did transfer my address to less crowded lands where the implorators could not distract themselves. I had no idea you were so tired of everything. He laughed and it threw me off. With his words spoken in such a theatrical way, I didn't expect such an innocent and normal laugh. Then I yawned and Dan did in reflex and both of us smiled. We talked for a while longer. I updated him about all of his old friends and the girls he used to date. He giggled and nodded through it all before telling me about the desert and how he didn't mind being a local weirdo, and also how Shakespeare made more sense to him in the middle of nowhere, how it was in effect its own world. My eyes do inform me that you grow tired, he then observed. He was right, I did feel tired. I realized I hadn't slept much in the last 2 days. We shall speak more upon the morn. That sounds good, I said. I got off his bed and pulled out my sleeping bag, but I didn't get in. Still hot from absorbing a day's worth of sun, I stayed on top. Good night, Dan. Pausing is such sweet sorrow, he said, his voice then adapting a perfect English accent. He still had his fucking humor. Thanks.